Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our sixth Skill-Share Session. We've just passed 12 o'clock, so we're going to start. Those that come late will just have to join in when they can. And I'm thrilled to introduce our host for this afternoon, Brad Wattridge. Brad is a communications strategist with over 27 years of experience, a published co-author and a thought leader on LinkedIn. He specializes in driving business growth through impactful strategies. And joining Brad, we've got Rowan Pillai. Rowan is the co-founder and CEO of Lean Technovations, a leading firm at the forefront of integrating lean principles with cutting-edge technologies like artificial intelligence. A chartered accountant and certified AI expert and lean practitioner, Rowan brings a rare blend of financial acumen, operational excellence, and technological innovation to the engineering and manufacturing sectors. With an MBA and a track record of transforming businesses across industries, he is widely regarded as a thought leader in lean AI, the convergence of lean thinking and AI-driven efficiency. Having built scalable models that deliver measurable results in cost reduction, productivity improvement, and strategic growth, Rowan is passionate about helping engineering businesses thrive in a fast-changing digital landscape. He has worked hands-on with CNC shops, manufacturers, and consulting companies to embed AI use cases into practical workflows, from drawing interpretation to predictive problem solving. And Rowan regularly advises boards and founders on business transformation and is deeply committed to elevating South Africa's industrial competitiveness through smarter, leaner, and more sustainable operations. Thanks so much for joining us, Rowan.
Thanks, Charlene. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Great. So, Charlene, can I take it from here?
Yes, please, Brad. Thanks so much.
That was one major bio to get through. I'm like, mine was a couple of lines. Rowan, yours was like a whole story. Quite impressive, brother.
Thank you.
Cool. So today we're going to talk all around lean efficiency and artificial intelligence. And Rowan, we always kind of stop at this point when we reference artificial intelligence, because I think a lot of people have kind of an inherent fear around what AI can actually do. And I know you touch base on it in the presentation, but just off the cuff, do we love or loathe AI?
Yeah, I think that's that's pretty much a question that a lot of people have been asking. And it kind of stems from, is AI gonna take my job? To a large extent, I think society pretty much believes that, and it's because I think some people started making jokes about it. Some people watch too many movies, and but where we are right now, I can definitely tell you that AI is not going to take everyone's jobs. We're probably very, very far away from something called artificial general intelligence, where the AI can actually think for itself and operate. There's a whole bunch of trials with humanoids, which is a robot that can walk, talk, and move around, think for itself. There's lots of trials, but it's years away, from actually being a reality. So for right now, at least, we definitely love AI, and there's so many different use cases that we could use, right now in our daily lives.
So I remember as a kid, if your parents owned a car that had air conditioning in it and electric windows, you were the bee's knees. I mean, you were like fancy. And if your radio had that metal aerial that went up and down, you were even fancier. And I remember my mom had this Toyota Cressida, and it had all of that. And we were like the most popular kids in the school because of this Toyota. To this day, I drive a Toyota still. So if we jump into, let's say, a modern day car, we're going to see a massive amount of progress. But that's 20, 30 years. AI moves incredibly quickly. So before we delve into readiness and where we are in South Africa with AI, how could you give us a couple of tips around how do we stay abreast to the progression on AI, because it's growing incredibly quickly, it's self-learning and it's self-evolving. Let's say, what are the 3 top tips for the guys in this session, for myself? How do we stay ahead of the changes? What can we do on a daily basis to make sure we don't get lost or washed away?
So look, anyone who's operating in the AI space will tell you right now that it's almost impossible to keep up with everything that's going on in AI. And I can tell you my way, and it's really funny. I use AI, so I use ChatGPT specifically. I have a scheduled task where I've asked it to give me the main AI news every day at 9 a.m. So every day I pretty much sit at 9 a.m. and look at what's the global headlines that's happening in artificial intelligence. And that's pretty much how I keep up to date. But I think for everyone who's not operating in the AI space every single day, I think definitely the news outlets is a good source. But the way to keep on top of things is you actually need to dedicate a few hours a week to be able to, whether it's read the news or do some sort of online training. The AI models itself are changing so fast. And here's a funny thing. Last year when I created the course, ChatGPT was still, I think it was still on model maybe 2.0 at that point in time. And since then, it's been to it's gone to 3, and it's gone to 4, and it's gone to 4.1 and 4.5, and then it went to 0.1 and 0.3, and now it's on 0.4. So it's changed so much and so significantly. What you could do, 12 to 18 months ago,
a year ago,
what you could do now. So I think that's actually my main tip is dedicate time every week to doing some sort of training on it or getting comfortable with it. Because if you don't do that, before you know it, it's going to be 12 months and 24 months and 36 months. And the time gap is just going to expand and you're never going to be able to actually catch up with it. There's always this kind of thing that people tell me, because I position myself as, guys, I'm one of the first movers in South Africa doing this. And a lot of people tell me, well, don't you think the last mover might have a significant advantage because they'll get what's sort of mainstream, at the time? And I go, well, yeah, maybe, but there's tons and tons of understanding that this person is not going to have. Their mind is not going to be open to all of the possibilities of how can you actually integrate AI with your daily life. Because all they're going to know is what everyone's telling them they can do. So it's quite a difference in the thinking.
So when we talk around lean engineering and the use of AI, could you give us an understanding, like if somebody doesn't understand what lean engineering is, and then up and above that, how AI is incorporated in that? Could you give us maybe kind of the elevator pitch around that in summary to the slide that we're going to be focusing on next?
Yeah, so lean AI split between lean and artificial intelligence. So what is lean? And lean is a way of thinking, right? It's a way of thinking with a key focus on how does a business deliver the most amount of value to a customer in an efficient manner. And there's major components of it, and there's key principles of lean. There's waste elimination, which is a process of where you're removing any activity that doesn't add value. There's your flow, where you want everything to move from one process to another, from one department to another, right? Without delays, without interruptions. And there's the continuous improvement aspect of lean, which is part of the mindset of let's always aim to be better, right? Sometimes
Okay.
it's so difficult to move your productivity from 50% to 80%. But if you think of small improvements, your 1% increments over time, that definitely does add up. And that's where lean is very, very powerful. And why we've kind of called it lean engineering is because engineering, manufacturing, a lot of the different types of industries, that's really where lean started off. It was actually started by Toyota, so you're using Toyota vehicles is definitely a good thing. And yeah, that's pretty much lean, in a nutshell. From an artificial intelligence side, specifically, what we're talking about here is generative AI, and that's what's available to the public right now. That's what I would definitely recommend. Once you start going into machine learning and those types of things, the costs can start to rack up. So as a immediate first step, we speak about artificial intelligence as generative AI. And think of it in the context of a ChatGPT. Right? This artificial intelligence can actually create new and context-aware content. Whether it's engineering reports or whether it's standard operating procedures or whether it's G code, because it can do that now. Right? And it does all of those things by learning patterns in text, in data, and different sort of designs. So once you kind of combine those two things, it's an absolute game changer. So if you think of the definition, to be clear in your mind, what is lean AI? Lean AI is the combination of lean's waste elimination, workflow optimization, with AI's the knowledge, speed, the consistency to continuously refine your processes, boost your efficiencies, and actually free up, your strategic leadership for growth of your business. And I'm hoping that makes things a lot more clear as to the subject what we're discussing.
Man, thank you so much for that. And guys, yeah, for those that are listening in, this is kind of a podcast style conversation. I think we're trying to eliminate the formalities of a presentation. So if you do want to comment, you do want to say something, please pop it into the chat section, or just raise your hand. We can take a question from you. I think where you really get good value is from asking us the questions and us answering them for you. Then that's really kind of targeted at your questions that you have around, lean engineering and artificial intelligence. Before, I know we're hovering a lot, and I know they've probably read through the statistics slide that you worked on, and I believe this took you some time to get these statistics. But the one thing I just want to talk around a little bit and just focus on a bit is, I know that most of us in this session are adept at artificial intelligence. We've experienced it in some form or the other. But Rowan, when we're looking at cutting that 1% of fat off our processes, off our, our structure of our company, so we can be that much more competitive, and that 1% means a lot for us. Where do we start? Because already we know about artificial intelligence. We hear from it from friends. We work on ChatGPT a little bit. But where do we actually start? What is the step one process from your perspective?
So I guess step one depends on where you are. If you have existing knowledge, of artificial intelligence, then I would say step one to using lean AI is when you think about lean, ask yourself the question, what's the product or service that I deliver to my customer in order to make a profit, right? I'm assuming you're a for-profit business. And once you know that, it's a selection of, great, this is my process or set of processes. That's your main focus. That's where you start. You take that entire process using your lean methodology like a value stream map, and you actually map that out to go from start to finish. What do I actually do here? And when you map it out visually, it's really, really powerful, because all of a sudden now you go, oh my gosh, why do we take 2 days to do that? Or why are we waiting 2 days, in our own business? And once you have that mapped out, you brainstorm with your team. You can use AI to help you brainstorm as well and give you some good ideas, and figure out, how do I actually reduce that turnaround time? How do I deliver to my customer? Either it's quicker, more efficiently, maybe it's cheaper, and sometimes it's actually all three. And that's really how you would go about, actually starting this entire process. But if you don't have any knowledge in artificial intelligence, please, please, please go and start there. Go in there. Yeah, you can call me.
They can call
You
you.
definitely call me. But there's loads of free resources available online, that you could also have a look at. There's also loads of books, but just be aware, a lot of these things, by the time you publish a book now and it gets circulated and put into Amazon or your bookstore, it's a couple of months later, a lot of things have already changed.
Yeah. So in other words, the Cressida no longer has electric windows. It's got something else that makes it popular.
Yeah.
So it just evolves very quickly, right? So on this particular slide, we're talking around our readiness, not only as as a country, but globally, kind of where are we with AI? And I've read through some of these stats, and they're quite scary. It feels like it's really just infiltrated everywhere. I think it's worse than COVID. It just kind of spread really, really quickly. And I think people see the benefit of using it, although we do know that there's always a price to pay, and that will come. But take us, for example, around the Price Waterhouse and Coopers survey. Just take us through that stat.
Yeah. And look, initially I had done some mental forecast in my mind, and as soon as I saw PwC release their AI survey, I went, oh my God, I cannot believe it's actually these types of numbers. To think AI is actually going to affect the global gross domestic product by $15.7 trillion. That's a ridiculous number. And that's what they predict by 2030, which is only 5 years away. It's not that far away. $15.7 trillion is loads and loads of money. So that's an absolutely ridiculous number. But what really scared me and kind of kicked me into gear was, the fact that they've predicted that Africa is only going to capture less than 2% of that $15.7 trillion. Less than 2% for the entire African continent. And that is ridiculously scary. And when you look at that even further, and you try to understand that a bit more, but why? Why do they think that? And then they go on to talk about, well, 77% of companies worldwide are using AI or adopting AI right now. Whereas in South Africa, less than 30% of businesses even have a formal AI strategy. Or the fact that only 18% of South African organizations are prepared to deploy and leverage AI technologies. So those stats have a huge kind of difference. I mean, they're sitting up there with the 77 and we down here with 30 and 18. The scary part is that gap, it's gonna stay like that, or it's gonna get bigger. And the sad part is that South Africa will be outpaced. We will get left behind. And that's my kind of biggest concern. It's really,
Yeah,
really
I think
my biggest concern.
You got to love us. We are so conservative in the way in our business practices. I mean, you just have to go into rural areas to see that businesses 10 years ago, you know, um, and we haven't really captured it. And there's some part of our industries in South Africa which are so advanced and globally competitive. And then AI comes in and goes, well, you haven't thought of me. So Marius had a really good question, and it's actually quite prevalent around the stats that we're talking about. But just to put things into perspective, I just looked up the USA annual GDP. So gross domestic product for USA in 2023 was $27.7 trillion. So this is almost, if I can easily say, half of the US gross domestic product, and that was 2 years ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. So this is really massive about the amount of money that's going to come in through artificial intelligence. But one thing that stuck out that you said that caught my attention before I grabbed Marius's question is around strategy. You say we need to have an AI strategy. So my immediate question, being a strategist, is do we incorporate that into our business plan, our initial business strategy? Is it something we look at that point? And if we are operational, do we sit and when we re-strategize for the year ahead, do we put that as a line item?
So I think, when you look at your business, as a whole, you want to be at a certain place, whether it's in terms of revenue, in terms of customers, employees, whatever it is. AI is definitely going to be one of those pillars that's going to help to get you there. But it can't be, disjointed from your overall business strategy. It should definitely be a major part of it for the future, with the intention to actually augment AI and help you to get there. And I have a joke with some of my mates. I say AI is like this really, really amazing junior employee. Think of it in that way. It's super intelligent. So think of someone who's just come out of university with a cum laude degree and top of the class, and they start to work for the first time. That type of employee, really intelligent, has loads of knowledge, but you have to give them the right kind of context. If you give them the right context, you will get speed and you will get consistency, and they will be able to execute for you, for however long you want to use them. So that's a really good way on how to kind of, think about it and augment it into your overall business strategy.
So I think there's always good and bad examples of how people have integrated it. In my municipality, they use it for their public notices, but they don't remove the prompt at the end of the chat. So you can read it's AI. But besides the thing, I have this personal thing around S and Zs. It's not a thing anymore, but for me, we S's and not Zs. So that's bad example. But good example is, for example, when I created a strategy this week, I was telling you about it a bit earlier, and Nicole, for the first time, I actually created this powerful go-to-market strategy for a client. And I actually did it side by side with Ben, who is my AI, is the platform that I use. I call it Ben. And Ben and I created the strategy actually together. So yes, I prompted Ben, but it was a conversation we had. Ben gave his opinion, I gave mine, and we came together and we produced the strategy together. And that was the first time that I've walked side by side with artificial intelligence. And I think that's a nice way to see it, that it is kind of that guide dog. It is that kind of buddy system that you can have with your AI. In your strategy, it's not just an IT item on your list. Okay, we have got good laptops. Have we got a good equipment? Oh, are we using AI? I think it most definitely should be a central point around your conversation and strategy. That, how are we using this to make us leaner? How are we using this to better ourselves? We're not just using it to write a press release to send out to the public. We need to use it in our business systems. and how more effective can that be? So before we move on, Bud, a question from Marius, and thanks again, Marius, for the questions. But Natasha, Karine, Dylan, Stian, if you have any questions or comments, guys, please, you don't have to always agree with what we're saying. Please share your journey. If you have something that you feel is really important and you want to share it with us. There's no dumb questions here. I was telling Rowan that I forgot how to stop certain social media posts coming into my stream. It's so easy and I forgot about it. So we're trying to keep up. So there's no bad or good questions. But Marius was talking around how can he really encourage his fellow employees to start thinking about using AI, especially those that are not tech savvy. What would your advice be there, Rowan?
So I think they're probably not thinking about it, or and maybe not using it as much, or maybe not at all, because they don't know what to do. It's it's that kind of fear of the unknown. So the best thing I would suggest is find some really good training. So I think there's Harvard and MIT, even OpenAI, as well as Microsoft. They have those shorter videos, kind of introduce you to the platform, how to prompt, how to think around things. That's a really good place to start. And whether it's on a Friday afternoon or at lunch, just go, hey guys, let's kind of sit down and watch this together as a team. And after that hour, people's kind of minds just starts to go, oh my God, okay, now I can see how we can do this, and maybe we can use it for that. So that would definitely be my advice to get going.
So I mean, we can even just take a bit of a breather here. Let me stop sharing and let's just guide people on how people, it sounds like I'm lecturing, but let's just do this. I mean, I know this is a bit unprecedented, so just bear with us, guys. But I always believe that these skill sessions are about sharing skills, right? So let me share again. I just wanted to make sure that none of my personal chats show up. So we are on ChatGPT, right, Rowan? Kind of the base entry point for any sort of AI journey. Everybody talks about it. Everybody knows about it. I love it, but old school, and you probably will judge me for that, but I really still love it. I know there's others, but it's simple as like, how do I approach, using AI?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely.
You know what I mean? And let's see what this has been, everybody. I would like you to say hi, but I don't know if he'll say hi back, but maybe one day he will. And yeah, it actually gives you the solution. It actually sits down and types it out. And you can then still converse and have a conversation around it. So the entry point into AI, into artificial intelligence is actually the barrier of entry is a lot less than you think. And I think something that we tend to forget is artificial intelligence is integrated into most of the tools that we use today, even the cars we drive. So, yeah, Maria's saying using AI to train on AI. Exactly. What better way to sit down with your team and say, guys, look how easy this is. I think where the training will come in, Marius and Rowan, I'm not sure if you agree, is just on the kind of the bad side of it, knowing that this is open sourced. So everybody has access to the conversations you're having. But so if it's something that's really IP protected, I would then rather have a different type of training session. And I'm sorry to deflect, but that's how easy it is. Hey, Rowan, anything else you would like to give on that? Is that our entry point?
Yeah, no, look, that's definitely your entry point. But just to pick up on what you said around the data sensitivity. So my preferred platform is ChatGPT as well.
Oh, cool.
I think you can get as soon as you open an account, there is a free plan.
Yeah.
There are ways on how to disable your external data sharing so that the model does not train using your information.
Yes.
So there's
Yeah.
definitely ways to do that. You can also get
Yeah,
a paid plan, which increases your security even further. So that's what I would definitely recommend. But like you said, Brad, if you are dealing with sensitive information, what I would do is I would I would change the names and almost give it an alias. So instead of saying Clean Tech Innovations, I would just go Consulting Company One, something of the
That's a
sort.
great point. Yeah, great point.
And
Great point.
just a side note on that. Don't forget what aliases you use. One of my colleagues, and it's funny now. It was not funny then. One of my colleagues used AI and put an alias to a certain consulting company, and then she had done work for a different consulting company. Unfortunately, she used the same alias. ChatGPT has history, so now it confused both the company's information, and it spat out a completely incorrect thing. Not because it was hallucinating, because it went, oh, I'm trying to be super helpful to you and incorporate some of the information the last time from what you mentioned about Test Company One. So yeah, just be careful of that.
Okay, no, perfect. And again, guys, if you've got any questions around, I mean, we have someone that's so proficient in this. If there's any technical questions or questions around artificial intelligence, comments you would like to make, experiences you want to share, please feel free to pop it in the chat. We always like to have a conversation with you guys. We don't want to feel like we're just droning on you, but I'm finding this incredibly interesting. And the other question that I have is, okay, so Donnie's got something. He's like, hey, Brad, could you chime in on audio? I'm on the road. I've got 5 minutes available. Yeah, of course, Donnie, you can, bud. So just unmute. I think they should allow you, but Charlene will help. She will unmute you, and we'll just keep chatting until you're there.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, go for it, Donnie.
I think it was Microsoft running a 55-day AI campaign very recently. It is an incredible amount of information that you need to sift through to see what works. So my one question is, how do you pick something that would be beneficial? Because you can get lost in all the detail. Secondly, the
Good question.
AI algorithms will not tell you that they don't know. They will typically generate an answer, even if it's not completely factual. So that's something to be wary of. And then today I saw a video posted on Linus Tech Tips. Intel has developed a new graphics card that's got an exorbitant amount of onboard memory. So for about $110,000, you're able to run the full version of DeepSeek without having to share your data on any other platform.
Sure.
Specifically,
Okay, thank you
we're
so
very, very optimistic about is the ability to run these data models on literally one device. Yeah, that's my input.
Oh man, thank you so much for unmuting and chatting, Donnie. We really appreciate it. So the first point is, do you want to tackle the first point, Rowan, from a question that Marius had, or Donnie had? Sorry.
So how do you pick is the question between all the different platforms. So I guess it largely depends on what kind of suite are you using. If you're using the Microsoft suite, Microsoft Copilot would be better because it's much more integrated with all of your apps, and your ecosystem as a whole. If you're using G Suite, then Google Gemini would be better because again, it provides the same level of integration. There's not much difference between a ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, and Google Gemini. Those are the only three I would recommend gets used. Please do not use DeepSeek in my my advice, my opinion. The problem is DeepSeek tried to come up a bit too fast and disrupt the market somewhat. The US didn't like that, and they are, in my opinion, they are the ones who try to hack them. And that's why there's been a lot of data leaks from DeepSeek, right? Grok, same kind of thing. They started trying to hack it. Elon Musk is great. I personally, I find Grok a little bit a bit too uncut uncut and raw for my liking. But Grok is a little bit behind, I would say, in terms of Copilot, ChatGPT, and Gemini. So stick to those three.
I think that was hacked. That was for sure. Can't see that we'll do that.
Definitely stick to those three. If you're asking which one I use on a daily basis, I still use ChatGPT, even though I function in the Microsoft environment. The funny thing is, because Microsoft is one of the largest shareholders in OpenAI, they pivot off the ChatGPT and OpenAI framework. So definitely, I would say that's the way to go.
So just leading off that, I think we just tackle Stian's question, and then we can maybe move into just going through the slide around the different points that you've raised there in terms of reframing AI. But it was quite an interesting point from Stian. Stian was saying just beyond the conversation levels, when you actually start to introduce AI into systems and you're developing systems for commercial solutions with AI, because it's evolving at such a rapid speed, by the time you've implemented and developed the systems, you've tested it and you've taken it to market, that very system might actually be outdated. Can you talk us through perhaps the evolution and the constant evolving of artificial intelligence in systems? It's not just a stagnatory thing you put in once. It's a system that ever evolves. Am I correct?
Yeah, and I give an example. When you look at AI agents, right? Last year, AI agents wasn't really a possibility, but they were workflow agents. And kind of the difference, a workflow agent would be you push a button and type in a prompt to create an article. As soon as that article is created, it automatically goes onto your website, right? So that's a good example of a workflow agent, whereas maybe an AI agent, you could say, create an article and publish it on all socials. So it will generate the ideas for you. It will decide what's kind of the best idea. It'll go and publish it onto your website. You'll go publish it on LinkedIn, that kind of thing. So that's been a little step up. And everything has to be built on the cloud. I definitely recommend that. I have had requests from people who went, can you build this for me on my server, my in-house server? Problem with that is you're not going to be able to keep up exactly like what you're speaking about, Brad. You're never going to be able to keep up with all of the changes.
Yeah, it's got to be almost like a live build. Because I think we've got to start seeing systems as intelligent sources. And I think that's where we are a little bit archaic as South Africans, if I could say this. I know some of us are really far. I think we are very progressive in social elements because we need to be. I think we're very involved in social developments because we need to be. But where we're lacking is we see systems the same way we saw them 20 years ago, as stagnatory operational items that sits on your computer. But what you've got to really look at is that your systems that you create moving forward, your procedures, your entire entity is actually becoming an artificial living thing. It's an evolving thing, ever evolving all the time. So I think that's a really important mind shift, that you've got to see everything that your business stands for. You've actually literally got to see your business as an intelligent. And what tools can you give this intelligent to do the business that you're doing? And so it goes beyond just automation. It's automation with intelligence. So that is the conversations I would suggest we should be having, is how do we automate, but how do we do it with artificial intelligence so the automation is not stagnatory? It doesn't last. We don't want automation that is set in stone for the next 5 years. We want it evolving. How does that work? And I think that will help steer on with the conversations that you're having and to keep it dated. Rowan, I'm not sure if you agree with that, bud.
Yeah, definitely. Once you have it on the cloud, and one of the recent projects I worked on is I've worked with this consulting company, and what they wanted to do is, this is the funny thing, the CEO called me and he said, I want to be able to download my brain, download the way I think about a certain topic. And the topic was complex. It was employee share ownership schemes. So there's a lot of, little nitty-gritty kind of things, little caveats. A small thing might change your decision or change your train of thought. And it's so difficult to teach. And because of that, the CEO's time is quite limited. So he said, well, let's see what we can do around this. And we've managed to build a great system in the cloud where he can keep updating the information. So as you have new thoughts, new things change in his industry, he can keep on changing that. As the models change with a ChatGPT, I can change that in the background. And that's worked out so well, and if ever you want to change the way the models interact, not a problem. Again, it's live, it's online. I can change that in the background, and we can always be, ahead of the curve in that way.
Yeah. So I think one of the worries we have, and that's based off Stian's comment that he made, or maybe question, is around, if we have a cloud-based, let's say, solution that we're working off, isn't it incredibly risky? Should we not be looking more of a hybrid solution where part cloud-based, but also part local hosted, which then can be really protected? What's the thought there?
So that it's difficult with locally hosted, because there's so many issues. I mean, our electricity issues is just the beginning, but we don't have enough of a infrastructure, for those types of tools. Cloud-based is definitely my recommended way, and you have to use one of the big companies like a Microsoft cloud system, Microsoft Azure to be specific. That would be my recommendation. If you go through, any other third-party cloud systems, it might not, I would also be a little bit scared. Because I use Microsoft Azure, I'm very comfortable that if something happens to Microsoft, if someone hacks Microsoft, the whole world is in trouble. So it wouldn't just be my data; it would be the entire world that's at risk. So that would definitely be my approach.
But I think also, Rowan, it's a tough one, because you want to evolve as a business and you want to stay ahead of this kind of wave of artificial intelligence trends that are coming our way. You don't want to be behind. You really want to be in front, even as a small business owner in Bloemfontein, or you're a small business owner in Pietermaritzburg. You still want to feel like you're globally competitive and you're in tune with what is going on. And the benefits of artificial intelligence in your systems and in your processes, in streamlining and leaning your business, is so vital that you can't ignore it. But there's always going to be a trade-off, and we're putting our business, our blood, sweat, and tears in the hands of a Microsoft security team that's sitting where we don't even know where they sit, and they're probably not even 10 years old, and they're busy programming in a basement somewhere. But unfortunately, there is trade-offs. There's also a trade-off of not evolving and keeping your systems 20 years old. You are going to become outdated. And when your business moves into a legacy business, when you leave it to someone, or you have a team that takes over and runs it, it becomes an investment business, you're not leaving your team a strong footing. They've got to pretty much reinvent the wheel. So Rowan, just taking us through the slides, you have these points here on the left-hand side that I felt like are really important for us. So human-machine collaboration, that was Brad and Ben doing the strategy, right?
Yeah. So look, just to kind of pick up on something, you said, thinking about the risks, because I think that fits in nicely to the slides. The risks of inertia, if we fail to act, I think that if we fail to act, we would be at a huge competitive disadvantage, right? The global leaders will out-innovate us. They will underprice us. That in its own will lead to economic stagnation, right? Not just for the different businesses, but as South Africa as a whole and the economy as a whole, because our industries will end up ceding market share to these AI-enabled businesses. And kind of in the same breath, you also think about the talent drain impact that will be here. We're going to get our best engineers, our best skilled people that's going to leave and go to more AI skilled markets. Not necessarily because everyone wants to go and explore AI, but for the sole purpose of, when you're thinking of yourself as an individual and you're working at a company in a struggling economy that doesn't have AI enabled here, compared to going overseas, and you could have a hugely different life, not just for yourself, but for your family. You could earn more money, and maybe it's a first world country and better education. There's so many things that goes into it. And that's why, I'm a chartered accountant by trade. That's why over this last year, 2 or 3, so many chartered accountants have left. It was something ridiculous, like 1/3 of chartered accountants have all gone overseas. And that's what's going to start to happen, if we don't adopt AI. More and more people are just going to leave, and that's going to cripple South Africa.
Thank you so much.
But I think in terms of what what we were talking about, the Industrial Revolution, and specifically around this slide and these PowerPoints here, and I'm talking about what happens if we fail to act. But now, when you look at it from, think of you in the 18th or 19th century, right? People started tapping holes by hand, and then you had maybe a tap wrench or a T handle, something of the sort. Those are essential steps in manufacturing, and you have to do it at that point in time. Then came along things like a hand drill and a drill press, and later we've seen the rise of your CNC machines, which completely transformed manufacturing. It could do the same, the same hole that you used to tap by hand. The machine can now do it much quicker, much more accurate, with the G-code precision. And humans all of a sudden went from tapping holes by hand to now being the operators of those machines, right? It's totally different. All of a sudden you find yourself using CAD and CAM workflows, right? And humans have adapted entirely to these new roles. So AI in this kind of revolution, technology in that change, it didn't replace the human ingenuity. It just amplified it. So through each leap, that human skill always evolved with technology, and AI is just our latest tool that will amplify our skills so much more, which is why I've put there in kind of big letters, AI will not take your job, but those who learn how to use AI will take your job.
Yeah.
That's
dude, spot on.
Yeah, I'm pretty passionate about that. I really, really do believe that. That's what the future looks like.
And it's quite crazy. It just tells you the quality of our media at the moment. And I'm in the media, but we will throw up a headline that we know. There's a saying: if it bleeds, it leads. So we're always looking for the downloads. We're always looking for the eyeballs. So we would put up these crazy headings that attracts attention, like AI taking jobs. But if you really think about it, it's just part of our involvement. But I want to share, there was something really interesting. So I'm an avid gamer, and I game a lot around different centuries. And I was chatting to someone the other day about Fluke, who spoke around this concept that if you went back to the 1800s, would you actually know, first of all, would you understand them? Would you be able to converse? Would you be able to actually do any sort of job there? And it got me thinking that every time we progress and move forward, we seem to think that we need to adjust to that evolvement. But the youngsters that are coming into our workspace now are the ones that actually hold the DNA to work side by side with these artificial intelligent tools. We as the older, if there's people over 40 here, we as the older generation have the ability to manage it, but we may not necessarily have the ability to work with it. And that is important to recognize, that every generation had its super skill. And unfortunately, if you are 40 plus, your super skill is not working with artificial intelligence. Our super skill is something else. I don't know if anybody agrees with that, but I thought that was incredibly profound, that if you go through the generations, because you weren't born and you don't own those super skills, could you actually live in that space? So it was just a thought, Rowan, crazy, but a thought. So Marius was saying, he's questioning, is it a tool evolving a lot faster than... Okay, so he's talking about, I don't know if you can read the comments. I'm just going to read it out in full, if that's okay, Rowan. He said, but it is a tool that is evolving a lot faster than the CNC lathe, replacing the manual lathe. We can't wait to see what will happen. We will get left behind if we don't act faster. I think we'll get left behind if we don't incorporate artificial intelligence into our conversations. Just start there. Just raise it in a meeting. Like, guys, what are we doing? Like, where is artificial intelligence in our policies? Where is it in our strategy? And then obviously call Rowan to come and consult, because he could really guide you on how to introduce it into your business. Hey, Bert?
Yeah, definitely. I like Marius. He's very spot on with a lot of what he's saying, because exactly what he's saying about the speed, right? The speed of the innovation, the speed of the advancement. And I think when you think about the time it took for like a CNC to become mainstream, that took a very long time. And AI, like we was talking about earlier, how quick has the models changed in the last kind of 12 to 18 months? That's something we've never experienced before. And I think that's part of what's actually creating the fear, is that everything's just changing. By the time you go, okay, let me start to explore something with ChatGPT, and there's another model, and there's another model, and all of a sudden there's this big scary thing called AI agents. And what are these agents? You're thinking agents like James Bond, like, why are they called agents? There's so many things that just starts to ruffle your feathers, right? And when we're at the point now of machines training machines, it's that self-learning recursive loop where it's just learning and learning and learning. One machine is passing data to another, and that's just kind of learning to improve and pass information back. It just becomes ridiculous. But that human and machine collaboration will be key, for the future, because like we mentioned earlier, AI brings that critical assets of speed and consistency. That analogy about it being a really great junior, and being able to give it the context to help move us forward. At the end of the day, AI lacks the human judgment. There's no, it lacks the empathy,
the consciousness.
Yeah, exactly. Consciousness, right? It's not going to be able to manage stakeholder relationships and have the same type of ethics and morals, right, as a human being. But if we can augment those skills, the possibilities are just limitless for us.
It's crazy. I learn so much every day with artificial intelligence and how it can actually be more of a companion than something that I would loathe or not want to do or not want to work with. I see it more of a companion. And I know we've moved on to the other slide, but also a concept that I came across in the early days of exploration was around stacking your different AI tools. I think ultimately the end goal is to have one universal platform where it services every sort of need. But in our industry, in the creative industry, we tend to use different AI platforms or platforms that use AI to get to an end result on a specific project. So tell us, Rowan, do you agree with the concept of using, for example, not just ChatGPT, but we would use a Microsoft one, or do we just use one tool or do we use many? So I can't think of a good name.
Yeah, I think it's largely dependent on how comfortable you are with exploring different tools and platforms. As a start, definitely use one of the big three, the ChatGPT, Copilot, or Gemini.
No,
If
Copilot, that's
you
what I was thinking.
want to explore further and find a tool that does, maybe it helps you to edit or create short videos. There's loads of those tools available. It's really dependent on you. Do you feel comfortable sharing a lot of the information with those platforms? Some of them are really great, really powerful. I use some on my own. And as an example, a really powerful one called Napkin AI. And the gist of it is, if you think of years ago, a lot of business was done at restaurants or pubs and those kind of things. And no one has a piece of paper to write down this amazing business idea. So you grab a napkin and everyone just scribble something down. You hear about those stories from a lot of founders who started up many years ago, that their business plan was written down on a napkin. So the software was created with that in mind. You pop in a whole bunch of words or whatever it is, and it creates this beautiful visual for you that you can incorporate into your slides. So, Brad, that's something you might actually use.
I wrote it down. Yeah, thank you. I'm always learning, buddy. I actually do napkin strategies because I have ADHD, so I struggle to pay attention through thick strategies. And I feel like my clients also don't read past page 7. So we tend to try and summarize anything to something really powerful and visual. And again, that was AI that got me to that point. The other thing that the other thing I did the other day is I've always wanted to write. That's been my dream. Another day I was conceptualizing something, but I don't want to put content out because there's so much out there. So I want to make sure it's something really impactful. And I was having this conversation with Ben around, what could be nice. And I found at one point Ben was very patronizing, like kept looking at the positive, the positive. Great point, Brad. Have you thought of this? Wonderful point, Brad. Oh, I like that. You know what I mean? So what I like about artificial intelligence is that it's kind of unemotional. So it cuts out the emotion in your communication and in your systems and in your structures of your company. And if you think about that, think about how the personalities in your business, think about how that actually sometimes slows your business down or causes unnecessary hurdles. Artificial intelligence kind of eliminates that and gets to the point. The other side is that it's an ever optimist. And sometimes I want someone grumpy. So it was an interesting experience. I felt like it was an interesting thing to see that there's still limitations on artificial intelligence. What are you thinking, Ryan?
Yes and no. Yes and no. So with your ChatGPT, with your models, you can actually train it you can give it a little bit more context. So, and I'll give you an example of one specific model I've built for myself that I use all the time. I've done one that's an expert at the Companies Act. So part of what I've built into it is that, okay, you're a lawyer, you operate in South Africa, you specialize in the Companies Act, you respond extremely professionally, you're very well mannered, a lot of those kind of things. So when I'm interacting with it, it's like I'm talking to a whole other person. And then I have
That's interesting.
Yeah, and then I've tailored another model around marketing, because when I talk to a lawyer, I kind of expect a certain personality, but then when I talk to someone who's in marketing, kind of expect part of that. Part of that model is you very I think I actually used the word bubbly. You're very bubbly and optimistic, So it goes, "Hey, Rowan!" exclamation mark, like that type of thing. You can feel it.
I never thought of it like that, Rowan. I never thought that you can actually play off your different platforms according to the work you do.
Yeah.
That's such an important point, because I kind of use Ben for everything. So poor Ben must be I'm sure it's in counseling at the moment from what it's been through with me. But yeah, that's actually a huge point. But just jumping back to the slide on Lean AI, do you want to take us through this Venn diagram and just let us know, what is that Valhalla happy space there in the middle? Is that Mauritius in summer with a cocktail?
Yeah, something like that. Now, look, I mean, so that is, I think we briefly spoke about it early on. That intersection is Lean AI, and I've actually put the definition, up on the top there to say, when you combine these two things, you get to Lean AI, which is, just to reiterate, which is combining Lean's the waste elimination, workflow optimization with AI's knowledge, speed, consistency to continuously refine the processes, boost your efficiencies, and free leaders to focus on the strategic growth. So that kind of concept, it's one that's huge for me, and pretty much a backstory to this, right? Is between myself and my partner, Bruce Hunt, we've created this concept last year. It's really, really funny. A few months later, Elon Musk was doing like an interview, and he said that one of the biggest mistakes he's made at Tesla was that he went in, he spent a lot of money, and he's automated everything. And this is right at the very beginning, only to realize later that a lot of his processes were flawed. So then they had to spend even more money. They revamped all of the processes, and then they had to automate everything again in order to make Tesla successful and in order to make it the company that it is right now. And obviously, I mean, Elon Musk didn't say anything about Lean and AI, but that sort of process that he was talking about, where he was going on about, definitely you need efficient processes first before you start automating. That is Lean AI, and that's the intersection of that Venn diagram.
Yeah. So, but I mean, most of the people sitting in this room today, including myself, I think know our industry and our businesses really well. So I think a lot of us here in the room have already that step up where the systems have been tried and tested. The question now is, how do we introduce artificial intelligence into that tried and tested system to, number one, disrupt and make you competitively advantageous, but also to lean your business? And I think that is the discussion, is how do we take this amazing company that I've created and make it even better? But we do reach a point as business owners where we stop evolving. It's very weird. It's like, I remember when I was a kid and I used to look at really old people, which in that when being a kid was somebody that I am now, and really, I would have thought I was really old now if I saw myself. And I always wondered, like, with old people, why do you walk slower? Why do you go and eat dinner at 5 o'clock and everything? But as I get older, I start to understand. I start to get it, like why we do it, because we're tired. We're
Yeah,
freaking tired. We are 19 whatever model Toyota Corolla. We're tired. We take time to warm up. Our fan belt is always going. We don't have aircon. We don't have electric windows, and we struggle on the uphill. But what we do have is an incredible amount of experience. And with that experience, you can use artificial intelligence to put the spring back in your business step. So you can show up 2 hours a day, but your artificial intelligence can construct you and help you build your systems to the point where you're working 8 hours a day. I work a lot more quicker. I'm way more efficient, and I have time for an afternoon nap. Not today, but some days.
Yeah.
So just because you're aged, Rowan, it's not a hurdle for entry, right?
Sorry, say that again. Just because you ancient.
Aged. Just because you're older,
Oh, aged.
you're young.
Yeah.
But because you're older, it's not a hurdle. So for
No,
some of us sitting in
definitely.
this room, where we're like, yeah, I'm not doing this. Sorry, I'll stick to my Excel. But what we're saying is, no, we need you to do this because this is going to give you that VUMA to get your business going again, right?
Look, I'll give you a good example. My business partner is 52. So, he's 52, I'm in my 30s. It's totally different, age group. And I can tell you that he's amazing at AI. So it's definitely not too late type of thing. You can always upskill because you have so much of experience. That experience can actually help to give you a good idea of,
That's the thing.
if I could change a certain aspect. You don't necessarily have to know how to do it with AI. You just need to know that if I can change this in my business, it would have X impact. And once you have that, then you could pretty much play around with how can AI actually help me to explore this kind of concepts. And I see you've popped up the case studies, which is what I was leaning into. And I think part of the case studies is I've seen for myself. So I've spent the better part of the last year to working with different engineering and manufacturing businesses. So I have a little bit of the that kind of expertise of what actually goes on just by being there day to day. With this case study, what I've seen is that sometimes we just spend way too much time maybe writing or testing out your G code. Sometimes maybe your program is not available, and then all of a sudden your machine is standing, right? And that has so many impacts on your business, right? Sometimes there's setup errors because the operator doesn't understand what's your manufacturing plan. They don't see the bigger picture. They misinterpret the diagram. There's so many things that can go wrong. So then I came up with the idea with some of my colleagues to go, what if AI can help to create this manufacturing plan? And it was an absolute shot in the dark. If someone told me that AI could read your CAD drawing, your technical engineering drawing, I would say, nah, probably can't. Until we tried it. I tried it, and what you'll see in the screenshot is there is a diagram. I gave it more context, being all of the tools that we have available. I gave it the list of all the machines we have available. And I've built a really long, specific prompt around this just to see, does it get to the level at which it can function? And look, in a lot of different environments, if you get it 80% there, you could probably, it's probably good to go. In the engineering and in manufacturing type environments, you need it 100%, right? You do. So a caveat is this will give you at least 80 to 90% of it. Never ever put something into an AI model and just send it out to a client or just implement it. Always
Oh, like my municipality, they
Yes,
send out the
yes, yes.
notices and they still keep
Yeah.
the prompt at the bottom. Isn't that awesome?
So,
Well, my
yeah,
notices are very easy to
just like
read.
that.
So it's upside.
Yeah, so just like that, just do that kind of thing. But just keeping high level on this case study, I've given it the more context to go, well, you're a CNC expert. Great. This is the information I'm giving you. There's the drawing, there's the machine list, there's your tooling list. I want you to create a manufacturing plan for me. I want you to decide what machines we're going to use. Explain what's the rationale for using those machines. Explain what tools we're going to use.
Okay, so hang on a sec, Rowan. Sorry, hang on a sec, brother. So what you're saying to me is, if I have a CAD drawing of a particular product that I want to manufacture, that's where we start, right?
Yes.
Okay, I take that, I upload that into, for example, can I say ChatGPT? Would that be the appropriate platform?
Yes, this was.
So so this is what this case study is telling us, that you've uploaded this CAD drawing onto ChatGPT and asked it to help you with the construct processes around that particular product.
Correct.
Is that it? Is that what happened?
Yeah. So if you go to the next kind of slide, so
Dude, that's incredible. That's incredible, buddy.
Yeah, giving it all of the different contexts, and I took it a little step further, and I went, can you also give me the G code? And very specific. I want G code. If anyone's familiar with the software Mastercam, and I want it as Mastercam style. I want it per operation, per process, per machine. Give me those kind of detail. And then I also want to see what are the things I should actually be on the lookout for. If there's chatter or if there's something that's going to happen, I just want to know what are the potential risks with running this part. And as you can tell from a lot of these things, a lot of these slides that you'll see, it thought for about 3 minutes and it gave me the full detail. I mean, you'll see on the right-hand side there, the drawing analysis and feature map. It listed all of the different features of the drawing. And an example, the hole is a certain size, or the chamfer needs to be at a certain angle. It's picked all of those things up. It's able to interpret it to tell you that, yeah, I understand.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So it's definitely something you can even bring into a technical environment.
Yes, 100%, 100% you can. And
100%.
As we go through this case study, when you go further, you'd see that it's given me the machine and tool selection. Right, it's selected. Okay, for your turning, let's use a Goodway CNC lathe, and then for your milling, let's use our Johnford. It's given you the tools, and you could see some of the numbers and the references there. It looks a bit weird. That's because it's looked at our reference from our tool list, from our machine list. That's actually business-specific information. It's not kind of, in this theoretical world, you could get this tool imported from the US. And this is, let's create a plan with what we have, right? And it's giving you an estimation of how long it will take to run this. And then you can see on the right-hand side, it's given us the G code, right? The G code you could copy, put it into USB and pop it onto your machine. Of course, you have to check your X and Y axis, but you can specify that upfront as well if you wanted to, and it will pull that in. I still recommend always checking your X and Y axis. I think everyone will recommend that.
Yeah.
But
that's true.
This is really, really where it's at right now.
So, buddy, we've got 15 minutes left, and I would like to spend. I know that you got a few more case studies. Is it a single case study, or is it different case studies that we've gone through? I forgot now, but remind me.
So there's 3 case studies.
Okay, so I think everyone can be left up to their own devices to go through this, because this is technical and they will understand it, I'm sure. But the most important thing is what I want to do better from the sessions we've done before is talk around your presence here. So you here to give us insight and information, but you are also available for consultation. So if Yanis or Sonia or Natasha or Emily, whoever's in the room, feels like they want to carry this conversation further, would you be open to them reaching out as added value just to have a chat with you? Would that be okay?
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
And
So
you
look,
speak a lot, Rowan. You do a lot of public speaking, I remember.
yes, yeah. I was telling you about next week. I'm actually in the Northern Cape for a week, giving lean and AI training. So entire
In the
week.
Northern Cape. Are you going to be
Yeah,
okay? Are we going to have to go and
yeah.
find you somewhere there?
No, I'll be fine. I'll definitely be fine.
Okay.
Um,
Is it with the
yeah, but look,
mines or with the general public?
so I'm gonna be a little bit cheeky. I shouldn't I shouldn't mention names, but I've been sponsored to train two of the companies that's effectively fall part of the supply chain of Bridgestone and Matraco. So
Well
they've
done. Well
sponsored
done,
me
Rowan.
to help upskill these entities within their supply chain. So that's what the whole week next week is about. Yeah, but look, I'm very open to having a conversation, having a chat if
Yeah.
anyone needs support.
Yeah, I think Marius is going to give you a call because Marius says he tried it himself, but he didn't come right. So I think that's the important thing. We do a lot of these sessions, guys, and we often offer the added value of being available after session. And 9 out of 10 times we get less than 10%, 10% of people coming through.
Yeah.
The idea of a skill share is to share the skill. Rowan is more than welcome, and I'm saying this on his behalf, open to conversation, but so are we. I think Nicole, who heads up our agency, is also very much artificially intelligent. And I know Charlene's also available, representative from the association. So if you really feel that this was great, but leaving you still a little bit grayed area, I would suggest reach out to one of us. Nicole, if you don't mind, if you just pop everyone's details in the chat, and you guys will get a copy of all these case studies to go through and read in your own time. And again, I'm sure Rowan will be kind of happy to give up his few minutes on the phone just to put things in a few context. But Rowan, finishing off, I know we got 2 more slides to go. Do you want to take us through that?
Yeah. So when you think about kind of the way forward, I would definitely say embrace the learning to conquer the fear. And I think that's how we move from this state of kind of having some awareness to actually moving into action, right? Because that's really where we need to be. Human instinct is always been to fear what we don't know, and AI does feel like uncharted territory for most people. So start with training. There's, like I said before, there's tons of free resources. Definitely have a look at those. The next part is make sure you formulate your AI strategy. You need to have some sort of strategy that links into your overall business strategy for, I would say, at least the next 1 to 3 years. And ask yourself the questions of just the basics. What business problems can I solve with AI? You don't need to have the answers to how AI can do it necessarily, but what would you like to solve with AI? And then consider, like I was saying earlier on, what's your primary workflows? Which of those would potentially gain the most from a return on investment perspective, right? What resources do I need in terms of people, skills, data, um, those kind of things, and what does a cross-functional AI team within your company, what does that look like? So I do hear a lot from clients, and people reach out to me to go, hey, can you help me implement AI agents and workflow agents and those types of things? I always say I can only after you've done some sort of training, only after you've learned the basics, you understand.
Yeah, but you're not there to upskill.
Yeah. Because I can promise you, you want to build something fancy with AI in your business, great. It will fail because everyone will be scared to use it. They'll be scared of what's going to happen if I click the button, or I can't remember the button, or those kind of things. And I think kind of the point 3 here around preparation of your data with AI, and we spoke a lot about generative AI because that's available right now. There is machine learning, which would be more accessible, I would say, in the next year onwards. But that's definitely something to take into consideration. As long as you understand what machine learning is, then you would be able to start working on your data, work on it, clean it, format it, make sure it's secure. That's going to be an absolute key driver for machine learning. If you don't have good data, and as a great example, you might have a lovely SQL database in your engineering business that has your production information, but all of a sudden you have a separate accounting database and a separate payroll database and a separate maybe sales or quotes database or separate inventory database. If everything is fragmented and scattered, you're not going to be able to do something like machine learning. So just kind of understand that. Remember, the golden rule in IT is garbage in, garbage out, right? So the same thing applies in the general AI space. So I think to wrap up, just to speak a little bit more about trainings, and a lot of these courses are very theoretical, right? And it might leave you with a lot of pieces to puzzle together on your own. So we've created our own training course, our Lean AI training course, that's meant to be practical and hands-on, teach both the little bit of Lean, a lot of the AI, and how do you use it together in your business to actually bridge that theory and application. So look, we have different formats of how we deliver it. You have maybe an option A where it's 3 consecutive days in person. I know a lot of people still prefer in person. And then there's monthly coaching and monthly additional skills session for about 3 months, with the intention that at the end of 3 months, between myself, my team, will help you to have some sort of business case for Lean AI implemented in your business, right? Because learning the theory is great, but if you don't use it, the reality is, so what, right? So, which is why there's a kind of a project that we help out with, and then we have option B. Some people just prefer online lessons, where it's weekly online sessions for a period of 3 months. And that as well has the Lean AI project deliverable right at the end. So I actually have a nice little surprise, and Brad, I didn't even tell you about this. So it's going to be a surprise to you as well.
Love surprises.
Yeah, so it's really exciting news. I work with a private equity fund called the Inkolabani Investment Fund 1. So they're a broad-based mandate, and they focus on engineering. They've generously agreed to pay for 50% of the course fees from the dividends that they've received from engineering companies as their gift back to the engineering community. So I'm very happy to say we have 12 spots available for each of the course formats, the 3-day in person, or the 3-month weekly online sessions. And
that's 12 spots, brother?
12 spots of each that's available. So the next cohort
Focus on each.
starts in June and July. So we actually run these on a monthly basis. If you do want tailored training to your specific business, which, I mean, that's exactly what I was talking about that I'm doing next week, there is that option as well. Please feel free to reach out. If you just have some great ideas that you want to chat about, I'm always looking to learn new things, to try new things. Very happy to have a chat about that as well.
Thanks so much, Rowan. So basically, we've left your email address. We do get a lot of contact after the sessions that Charlene fields for us. So Charlene will put them in touch with you if they do come through. But your email address is there for someone who's got questions around that opportunity. And then just before we kind of end up and say our thank yous and close, Sonia was saying that she gets really bombarded with a lot of AI learning opportunities, platforms, etc. Which ones would you recommend? Where's a good start for Sonia? I would presume Sonia doesn't want to do it on her own. She would like to do it. Is it contacting you guys? Are you guys really good at just taking Sonia on that journey? Is the other online platforms where you can learn the art of AI-ing, if you can say that?
So
I think you can say that.
Yeah, for now, until someone comes up with a better term, then
2 seconds.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely, if you want to go from kind of beginner up to expert level, definitely we can help to get you there fast. If you want to journey through the free resource kind of route, I would say that whichever one you do, there's gonna be tons and tons of theory as well.
Yeah, you need something practical. I mean, Sonia, what I would suggest, sorry, Ron, I'm talking completely over you, but I think we just don't have a lot of time left. But what I would suggest, Sonia, and if Rowan agrees with this, is just start. Just sit down, start with ChatGPT. Just start having a conversation with your version of Ben. Start light. Start talking around key things that are in your mind in terms of your structure. And then from there, grow. Because by just starting, you're already exposing yourself to the algorithms that are capturing your actions. And you're going to start getting the right communication come through you. I'm very skeptical to pay someone to train me on something if I haven't even started, because that person's going to painstakingly have to convince me to do it. I think Rowan is looking for people who are really like Rowan. I'm in. Let's book you. Let's get you in. I'm ready to go on this journey, or I'm ready to participate in these 12 spots that are available.
So sorry, Brad, to jump in there. There's different audiences. So there are some of those guys that just go, I've started ChatGPT before, let's get going. And because I a lot of the time do it in a mixed group. Some people are there, and then some people haven't even ever created a ChatGPT account, who've never used it. So
okay,
yeah, catered for both audiences.
So
but yeah, I agree with you on. Yeah, I agree on you.
I mean, you've met him. He's legitimate. He's a nice guy. Let's do a Trump. He's a lovely, lovely guy. Awesome guy. He's the best guy in the world.
Guys, Brad is just saying that because he really likes my coat.
Oh yeah, you came dressed so well today, I promise you. I felt so bad, dude. You got no idea, because I really didn't show up. I had my home jersey on. But anyway, guys, we'd like to say thank you very much for your time. Guys, if you do have questions, you're more than welcome to stay behind. We do stay for a few minutes before we hand over to Charlene. I just want to say a special thanks to Rowan and actually Nicole, who worked on setting this up. Rowan, we wish you the best of luck for your Northern Cape. Please come back. You're very close to Namibia, and I heard it's an awesome place. So we don't want you to get lost there with the Germans and the big beaches. But yeah, guys, thank you very much for joining, and thank you for staying through. None of you dropped off unless you really had to go. So a special thank you to Gavin, Emily, Varushka, Natasha, Goodness, Sonia, Karine, and all the others. Thank you very much, guys. You are an amazing audience. A bit quiet, but maybe next time we get you to ask a couple of questions. Other than that, Charlene, would you like to close, or shall we just hard close? We generally just stay for a while, hey?
Yes, yeah, Brad, before we close, I just wanted to say to Rowan, on your second slide with the PwC AI survey, I was quite surprised there that only 18% of South African organizations are prepared to deploy AI technology in their business. And Brad touched on that as well earlier regarding the aged people. And, I don't know if it is, I'm sure age does play a role, but I'm not sure if it is the main role. I think generally as South Africans, we are afraid of change. We are so set in our ways. We've been doing a certain system for 5 years or 10 years, and this system is working for us. So we don't want to change it up because, as you said, if we press the button now something will break or disappear or go wrong. And by being so afraid, we're missing out, and we're missing out potentially on trillions as a nation, which definitely needs to be looked at, and we need to find ways where we can implement these changes in our businesses, and not just a few businesses, as many as possible, because we are genuinely missing out. And I think this training that you have generously offered at 50% of the course fees, sponsorship, that's really wonderful. And I really hope that some of our members do take this opportunity and see how this can help them and help their businesses grow. And thanks so much for the information. It was really very interesting for myself, and I think everybody online as well really enjoyed hearing about everything and ways that we can improve our businesses and engineering. I think we all gain valuable insights and inspiration to take back to our teams. And it's great. Thank you. I think we must all stay curious and keep innovating. And we look forward to connecting again soon.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Charlene. And I think, I'll just say this to kind of end it off. Yeah, I really like talking about it all the time, because if we don't speak about AI and find ways to augment it, we alienate one of the greatest technologies of our lifetime. So I think it's really, really key that we speak about it and work our way through it. But thanks.
It's that and the toaster. I feel like the toaster is such a good invention. Like, how did they not live without a toaster? I think toaster and AI are my top two at the moment. Oh, and an air fryer.
Air fryer,
That person needs a Nobel Peace Prize, honestly.
No, it's the smart air fryers that get me, Brad. The ones while you're sitting in a Teams meeting, you could just switch on and rotate and those kind of things. I love those things.
But guys, thanks. So Rowan, we're going to actually end. I think it's been a nice session, but also quite a big one to get through. Brother, again, thank you very much. Stay in contact on LinkedIn. Please share your journey. If you do public speaking and there's open seats, please let us know. We'll let the SAEFA team know, and they will let the members know that there's open seats that we can come and sit in and just participate. They're very eager to learn, and so are we. So guys, that's me. Thank you very much, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, Brad. Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Thanks all. Thanks for joining us. Goodbye.